mug, I would need to taper the lip. I don't want to leave it nice and thick. I want to taper it so that it's easy to drink out of. So if I were tapering it, I would start with my ribbon tool, because you actually, instead of just moving the clay around like your modeling tools would, you're going to need to actually remove the clay to make that tapered lip. This is where having your clay right in the middle of your wheel helps, because then as you're turning it, you can kind of apply the same amount of pressure and you should be able to get the same amount out. So I don't want to go so thin that it's sharp, but I do want it to be thin so that it cuts off the water as I'm drinking it. You're going to probably want to avoid getting clay into the inside of your pot because it might be hard to get out at this point. And then I'm also supporting from the opposite side. So whenever you're putting pressure on your clay and it's soft, you're going to need to support from the outside. A drinking lip, if it were flared out this much, it would probably get water all over you. So I probably wouldn't flare it out too much. If it's flared out too much, you can always push it back in. And remember that from this point on, you can do a whole lot of refining of your work. So I can refine this, especially when it gets leather hard. That's the real refining process. Right now I'm just trying to get the really general shape. This is obviously way too big for a mug, unless you really like coffee. So I'm just refining the lip, getting kind of the general form finished. And then once it's leather hard, I can do a whole lot more work on it because it'll hold its shape better. Right now, you don't want to make things too thin because it's not quite strong. I built this all in one day here. Getting the inside nice. And from the outside, I'm going to do that too. It's okay for the top to get a little thin. That's why I'm okay with removing this clay. And that's because the support and everything is much thicker on the bottom. And it works out really nicely to have the top be thinner. I'll use my finger to kind of do a little more refining. And I'll keep working on this as it gets more and more dry and kind of shaping it into what I want. And I can use my sponge as well, get it a little wet, bring it around the lip. You want the lip to be nice and smooth. You don't want to cut your lip on anything. So it's just going to be you going through with your fingers, with your modeling tools, with your sponge, and you're just really forming that lip. I'm going to do a little bit of pinching here to really get my lip to be an even width. And then if I need to go through and I need to cut it again or trim it again, I can do that. I can rewrap my paper around and I can do that again. So your goal, and it'll be easier once it's a little bit harder, is to get a nice thinner lip on your